And when they were walking to the garage, there was a dustbin.
Is this the garage of this same house?
Yeah, it's a garage, but it's not attached to the house. It's sitting on this. We have to get out of the house to get to the garage. So they wanted to go and search in the garage.
And the dustbin, where exactly was
The dustbin is in that yard, but yeah, somewhere between the garage and the house.
Same premises?
Same premises.
The acting head's premises?
Yes. So then they decided to stop at the dustbin. They searched the dustbin. Inside the dustbin, that's where they found the few rounds of ammunition as well as those handful of pills. And they decided to arrest her for that. So the question was, number one, do you know that she's the only one that has access to the dustbin, since the dustbin, you are saying, it's within the facility of correctional service? For you to get into the dustbin, is there any obstacle? Is there any fence, high wall fence or gate or whatever that gets access? So he said, no, it's easy for you. There's a fence, but it's low. You can just jump over and get to the dustbin because it's within the compound. Yes, she's responsible for that place because it's allocated to her, but the person who empties the dustbin, it's a correctional people. She doesn't take the dustbin to the road. They just come in and take a dustbin and go and empty it and come back. They come in and cut the grass, and of course it's within the facility. So she's not responsible for that maintenance per se. It's done by the correctional service. So I said, but Colonel, that means the likelihood is that many people had access to the dustbin. So the least you must do is to get forensic, because you did not invite forensic to that dustbin. Get forensic services to come there and do a touch DNA in the dustbin. So you can eliminate the people that touched it. Collect the DNA so you can be able to know who had access to this dustbin. Same with the container or plastic, whatever that is carrying these drugs and ammunition you're talking about. Do a touch DNA so you can be able to know exactly who handled this thing. Then you can confirm if it's her or it's someone else. So my recommendation is that as a police officer, you have a responsibility to decide. But my recommendation is make an OB entry of what transpired, call forensic people to come to this house and do the touch DNA where you collected this, and the crime scene management.
Would that still have worked at that stage? I imagine even their own hands now have...
they can be eliminated.
Isn't there contamination?
But that can be eliminated because it happens when you come in to do the job, the police would be there, their hands would be there. But when you do touch DNA, you're able to say who was here. Then you can eliminate that these are family members in this house and these police officers, and you can find a foreign DNA that was not supposed to be there, that could not be counted for, then you can be able to confirm. So if they will have done that, and every DNA that is there is for police officers and hers, then the police officer will have the right to say, beside us that came here, you are the only one that accessed. So therefore, it is yours. She can't deny it because she'll be the only one that access to that place. But the moment they find another DNA, that means they need to eliminate, they must then do further investigation to establish who had access to that place. So that is my advice to this colonel. I said, make an entry. Ask forensic to go and do it, that crime scene management on the DNA, on the dustbin. Take these exhibits that you received, because you don't know whether these are genuine drugs, and if it's drugs, what type of a drug it is. Send these pills to forensic so they can test them. Take this ammunition, is clear, you can see it's ammunition. Obviously, you might not know really where it comes from. That one you know, it's illegal. It's ammunition, it's illegal. You can't change it. But what we need to confirm now, whether is she the one to blame or not? Or is someone else that placed the ammunition there? And that's exactly what the colonel did. He made this OP entry, and those items were booked in the register, and they will have been sent to forensic. I don't know whether the forensic people were invited to come to the crime scene, but this is where they ended with that. Because I had said they must reach an inquiry. Fast forward to that, Commissioner.
I have not read the OB entry, but does it contain this narrative or not necessarily?
Yes, it does, Commissioner. It's just it is not clear here.
Yes,
You want me
that's
to
why-
read it on record?
That's why I did not read it. It's not that legible, yes.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it on the record, sir?
No.
Because
We'll,
I have it on my phone.
We'll ask the evidence leaders to share a legible copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
We shall do so, the Chair, thank you.
So, so as I said, Commissioner, the attached letter had supposed to have been signed, because it looks like the author was the same colonel. The letter was addressed to me, explaining exactly what he did, which was my directive. He was writing it to me, but he never signed it and I never received it. And the OP entry, the entry it was made is as per my directive. So both of those were, they were talking the same thing, that I had directed that must happen. But that is what basically it's containing. So my biggest complaint that I had.
Before you go to that complaint, so on your understanding, the charge that Mr. Mkhwanazi was warning you about, is it your understanding that it related to your, let me loosely call it, intervention?
Interference, basically, that's what the defeating came from.
Defeating the ends of justice. So on your understanding, is that what it related to?
Yeah, that's the only thing, Commissioner. So I explained all these things, Commissioner. That's why the message is this long. Because I felt that I must also express my opinion about this team. That they ended up doing something that is not in their mandate. They came here for RPM. And they're police officers. So when they get information, they must act on it. But after acting on it, they must follow the law. They cannot just jump and do something. So it mustn't be that they are sent to go and arrest a person, plant in evidence and arrest a person because maybe someone wants to deal with that person. It might as well be a correct information they received, that there are indeed drugs in there. But by the time they arrive there, those drugs might have been moved. So physical search of the drugs, you don't find them. But if you bring forensic to come and see whether they were drugs, they've got lights, they've got many things that can verify that there was something here that was moved. So that's what they could have done, and they didn't do that. So that's what I was advising them on, that the information might be correct, but you did not get what you're looking for. Hence, in the last paragraph of this annexure, if I read it on the record, I'm communicating to someone that already said, is close to the minister, confirmed by the CFO, the Chief of Staff, and I wrote here, the minister will learn the truth one day about that team which have been complaining that I make them conduct crime-fighting operations which are outside their mandate. Although when they want, they do such duties, e.g. this one which was carried out without my knowledge. So basically, I was trying to communicate to the minister via this Mkhwanazi, that there was this deployment at RPM that as a provincial commissioner, I don't know about it. I was not consulted. I'm not controlling. The district commissioner doesn't control. They report straight to the head office. I wonder whose interest is saving. And the complaint was the presidency complained. That's why we must now deploy. But the national commission maybe can explain that in details, because to date, I do not know what was the reason. And there was an intervention thereafter. I must say I was paraded by business people in that area complaining, why am I prioritizing RPM over them? And I told them straight, I don't know anything about RPM. They must get the minister to come there. Minister Krele at the time, so the minister came, the national commissioner came. So we said, and there was a discussion that we need to reconfigure this and make it big and let it be under my command and it serve everyone else. So from that time, then it became my operation. But Commissioner, as I said, I was going to explain this. Later, in my statement is there. Maybe by the time we get there, we don't have to repeat it again because we already spoken about it. Commissioner, the communication continued, as you can see here. Remember, he had sent me a lot of messages. I was responding on the first one about the case, but he had already sent me screenshots of crime intelligence briefing and the likes. And after responding to the one of the case, I then went to respond on the one which is on 318, the very first message. I was responding to the story now about the divisional commissioner where he was saying I must just check my standing with him, that yesterday he pushed a narrative about me on the CITs. So I responded.
Negative.
Yeah, negative.
Negative narrative.
Yeah, negative narrative. So I then responded that by asking him a question. And I read, what did he say about me? That's what I asked Mkhwanazi. Because surely Mkhwanazi was in that meeting. So I'm asking him, what did he say about me? I will expect Mkhwanazi was to respond to me directly about what did Khumalo exactly say about me, because if he was part of the meeting, you'll know the details. And his response, he responded to my previous issue of the defeating case on that long message, and he responded to that. He says, the minister is briefed. He has just arrived in Lusikisiki. This message is sent at 9:28 in the morning, on the same date that I spoke about, which is
the tense there is a bit sorry, General. I'm saying the tense there, the minister is brief, is a bit confusing. So I do not know whether he means that the minister having arrived at Lusikisiki, he was now getting a briefing on what he had gone there for, or whether he meant that he had briefed the minister on your explanation about the Mpangeni case. I find this very confusing. You did not write it. Maybe you won't be in a position to shed light on it, but what was your understanding of it?
Commissioner, when you write on WhatsApp, a person sends you a WhatsApp. If you are responding to that WhatsApp, you click on that WhatsApp and you press reply. So it catches the top part of the original WhatsApp when you are typing.
Yes.
So when you read this, I want you to see the one that is not bright, that is on top.
No, yeah, I follow
So
that.
he was responding.
Yes, I actually do see the opener to your explanation.
Exactly. So he was responding to that.
I do see that he was responding to that. But what I'm saying is, when he says the minister is briefed, I don't know whether he means that he had since briefed the minister about or on your explanation.
Yes, Commissioner, we are only talking about what transpired, hence my last paragraph that says the minister will learn the truth.
Yes.
He's responding to that the minister is briefed. So I assume that the minister knows about what we're talking about. So he then follows that with another message, which I had sent at 9:26. He responded 9:29 when I asked him about the Khumalo story.
Thank you. Commissioner Baloyi is saying you, or the people doing this or running this for you, show some exhibits, but they do not show others. And maybe if there could be some consistency, are we showing or are we not showing?
Oh, quite appreciate it. It's a valid point. And perhaps I should warn us not to get as shocked as we did first time around, in case the technology gets the better of us. But we will try and project. We don't expect to be.
Yeah, we are
much
at 318.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about this, sorry about this. We may continue. Thank you.
Before we do, Chair, thank you, Chair. Commissioner Khumalo had indicated to us that it's the General's long response that he wanted perhaps projected before you move off this. It won't fit on the screen. What you have, Commissioners, if you look at your version, it goes up to subs. So the last paragraph doesn't fit on the screen. So it's been up for some time, so we'll scroll down. And that last paragraph is the last paragraph of the message. Then we have caught up with your conversation with the General. Thank you, Chair.
Then we go on to 318.
Then we go on to 318.
You've gone past.
Unfortunately, we are working on the scrambled ones electronically as they were yesterday. Our files have updated, but not the electronic version, unfortunately. Now, your 318 as it currently stands was not part of the original annexure, which is the electronic version.
Okay.
So we will stop projecting at this point. Otherwise, it only serves to confuse.
Perhaps Commissioner can guide them to say, go to the one that starts with the message, what did he say about me? So you're able to follow. It's the first message.
No, General,
Oh, you
that's,
don't
the,
have
that's the
the-
end of the annex,
In
the
the,
old
in the,
annexure,
in the
yes.
interest of time,
Absolutely.
maybe let's project where we can project properly. Let's leave
Okay.
it. Yeah.
I think that this is the last of the series in this annexure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, if I may continue then, the message that he had sent, which I said earlier, the minister is briefed, he has just arrived in Lusikisiki. The minister on the day was visiting the incident that happened in Lusikisiki where many people were killed. So this was just another confirmation that this man knows exactly about the minister's movement. So he's either with him or he's informed about the minister's movement. That's why he can write messages like this. This was again to confirm that I have to trust that he's a person who's close to the minister. And when he responded to the message I sent him earlier of what did Khumalo say about me, his response was, Jen, which means general in abbreviation, Jen, this must be in your chest. So which means he wanted me to keep this secret. And I'm wondering now, why is he telling me if he doesn't want me this thing to go public? And then my response, of course, because I wanted him to get me information, I said, trust me on this one. And then he wrote a message, which followed at the bottom of 318, which reads, I'm going to read it on record. You are having your interest, and that maybe you are having your own cattle. You don't listen to the CI, that is crime intelligence. Then Masimula intercepted him. So, which means General Masimula was in that meeting as well. Also spoke about your provincial crime intelligence member. Remember, he is retiring. I think there's message missing there. He's retiring next month. And if we move to 319.
Can you please, in your own words, explain what the first part of this text means, starting from you are having right up to intercepted him? It's rather cryptic.
At the time, my understanding is that he's telling me that what was discussed in the meeting which he sent me screenshot on, the one that talks about crime intelligence policies, they were discussing me, about me not wanting to cooperate and working well with the head of crime intelligence in KZN. So that was my conclusion, that he was saying that I don't want to cooperate with them on information that they are giving me. I don't want to operationalize such an information. And that's why he even knows that the head of crime intelligence in KZN is going on retirement. So this is a person who knows everything about the police, even knows when is a person retiring.
Thank you. You may continue.
So and then the following message on the next page, 319, I then asked him that, please get me that presentation if there is one to confirm, or otherwise if there is any recordings. Because I wanted to get a proof that what was this presentation about that he has access to that I don't know. The response from him, what made me start connecting the dots. Remember we spoke about investigation and pictures starting to emerge. His response was nothing. General Khan will brief you next week. Now, Commissioner, I want to put on the record that I only know one General Khan within crime intelligence. He's a Major General Khan that was on the news not long ago. Some of the colleagues will know about the attendance of the EFF celebration last year, as well as the case that was alleged that Khan was involved in stopping the police when they were busy with the drug operation at Eratin in Johannesburg. When he sent me this, I then concluded that means General Khan is in that meeting. It is General Khan most likely that is feeding him with the information. That was my conclusion. Why would he choose General Khan to brief me if I ask for a presentation? But again, I don't have proof of it. It is him that is writing this message. But I guess with the investigation, we're going to see linkages about all these people within the police. And my response was, sure. And then he sent another one to say back in Joburg, and after that followed by phone calls, and there's many other communication that followed thereafter. I don't have to read all of them, Commissioners, as you can see that are following on those attachments. And as I said, General Khan has been on the news. He's a component head within crime intelligence. General Khan, when he sends me this message, General Khan was appointed, his post that he's occupying as a component head at crime intelligence is an operational intelligence support within crime intelligence. But he was appointed acting as a component head of counter and security intelligence. When Khumalo arrived at crime intelligence, that was a position that General Khan was acting on. So Khumalo, I understand, he had moved him back into his old position. Counterintelligence, if I can indicate, Commissioner, is that the vetting is done at counterintelligence. Majority of operations like this drug cartel operation that is holding counterintelligence investigation, it's conducted in that office. So meaning it's a person who, it's an office that really is in the heart of intelligence operations. General Khan was acting there. General Khan has since been moved back into his technical support. I'm not saying that General Khan is involved in these leakages of information to the members of parliament and to the other people, but what is interesting is that almost everything that we see happening in parliament, in the media, comes from that component of crime intelligence. And this is where the real fight comes from. The operation of Gauteng counterintelligence that involves this drug cartel is in that component. So, and this is Mkhwanazi that introduces Khan to me. I said, Commissioners, I'm going to reflect to what happened in 2011, later on my statements. Crime intelligence, modus operandi back then, and players that were involved back then with the looting on the money and irregularities, they still exist at crime intelligence today, and some of them are occupying high position. So there has no reforms that has been implemented at crime intelligence. That's why it's no surprise when you start seeing things coming out. Like I said on record, I did not say that General Khan has leaked any information. It is Mkhwanazi that introduces Khan. I only know of one Khan at Crime Intelligence. So perhaps as we investigate further, we'll be able to see whether there's any leakages between these people. That information that supposed to be within the confines of those four walls where the meeting was taking place ended up with Mkhwanazi. Commissioners, as I've outlined a lot of communications here with Mkhwanazi, if I can move faster, if you allow me, SC, on my statement, because I think a lot of things that we have spoken about here.
I think, General, you are now at 320.2. That would be the last page on this, of this annex.
I beg your pardon?
Page 320.2. Maybe.
Wait, no, I'm just talking, I'm going on my statement, trying to align myself with what is on
You
statement.
have covered your statement, that portion of your statement in its entirety, because of the conversation you were having with the chair, taking him through the various pieces of communication. I was just pointing out, with Mr. Mkhwanazi, I was pointing out that the only page of that annexure you haven't dealt with is page 320.2. And then you'll have caught up with what you have in your statement.
General, before you go where the evidence leader is directing you, at page 320, that extract of your communication with Mr. Mkhwanazi, there's where, right at the top where it's Brown Mkhwanazi, and I assume the message there is from him. Good day, General, met with a complainant. Did you ever come to know who was the complainant? And what was the complaint?
I did not know who the complainant is, Commissioner. You'll notice that there will be messages and phone calls that he would be making to me, which will be very short in seconds, but I never really got to know who the person is. The only person that I could relate to in his entire conversation I'm having with him is General Khan. That seems to be the contact person with him.
And the complaint would have been what? The defeating?
Even that, he
Justice.
did not explain to me who's planning this defeating. It did not say anything. I must maybe retract back. I'm going to maybe some reflection later, as we maybe close the day or somewhere in between. We're going to present a slide where we're not necessarily going to be talking too much on it, but we're going to just reflect on some things. And part of the system of protecting the drug squad, media plays part. Let me rephrase. Journalists within media houses, they are part of this in pushing certain narrative. Why I say this is because a very well-known veteran, Mzilikazi of Africa, had contacted me almost immediately after this incident happened of Mbangeni. It happened beginning of the year last year. I think a month or so, he contacted me. He can come here and confirm that. He contacted me, said, Gerald, I'm hearing that you interfered with the police operation. And what is going on? So I explained to him the details of what transpired. He understood. Then he said, okay, well, there's some stories and there's nothing wrong. So he did not publish that. Later in the year, which I suppose maybe this why Mkhwanazi is coming to me with this, is that first General Cele calls me, he's a former minister, he calls me and he says the Premier of Gauteng have approached him to go and work in Gauteng to help him fight crime in Gauteng. Therefore, he needs General Khumalo, who is a district commissioner and ex-task force commander in KZN, to come and work with him in Gauteng. And I find it strange because I think he called 2 or 3 times. While I was in a meeting, I kept giving the phone to one brigadier Abteles who was with me in the meeting. And after that, I had a conversation with General Cele, and then he pleaded with me to release this general to come to Gauteng. And my surprise was, but when General Cele was in the police, he did not like that general, Khumalo. He didn't like him at all. So why now that he's out of the police, he trusts Khumalo to come and work with him in Gauteng? It was just strange. And I turned to my colleague, Jaron Hua, who was with me in a meeting. This was in Durban. Jaron Hua works at the head office from HR. So I turned to her and said, but I received a strange call here. Gerald Cele is asking me to approach Khumalo, who's a district commissioner Zululand, to come and work with him in Gauteng, meaning he must resign from the police and go and work in Gauteng with him for 5 years, then he'll come back into the police, which was very odd. And Gerald Hua was also confused. He said, but as far as I know, Cele didn't like Khumalo. And he made all of us at the head office to believe that Khumalo is a bad person. Why will he now suddenly want Khumalo to work with him? So it was just a strange call. I then contacted Gerald Kumar. He's a Major General. I phoned Gerald Kumar and said, Gerald Kumalo, this is a request I received from Gerald Cele. Gerald Kumalo just laughed and he said, well, don't worry. The general is not serious about that. So I asked him, what do you mean? He said, no, he's not serious. He wants me to back off on the case against Khan, General Khan from Crime Intelligence. So Cele is pursuing Khumalo to resign from the police so that he can stay away from the disciplinary case because he was appointed to deal with that case departmentally against General Khan. So Khumalo says, no, this is the approach of Cele to want me to back off. And that got me so upset, commissioners, that can really Gerald Cele go to the extent of wanting a person to resign from the service because he wants to protect someone? It was very strange. I did not talk to Gerald Cele from the day. I did not talk to him. I was very upset. It disappointed me as a person who's a former minister in the police. I was just upset. Fast forward, commissioners, the police have got two disciplinary processes. It's what's called expeditious, and the other one's a normal disciplinary process. Expeditious, you basically, in short, I could say, we're already saying to you, you are guilty of an offense. Come before a presiding officer to explain why you say you're not guilty, in a way. But in a normal process, the employer must present the allegations, and you have a chance to cross-examine witnesses and argue your case. And then you have a presiding officer that must decide. So the initial disciplinary procedure that was initiated for Gerald Khan on that interference with the drug in Johannesburg was that of an expeditious process. So Khumalo was then appointed as a person who's going to preside over that. And Major Gerald Khan approached the court granted, they overturned that and they say, no, we must go to a normal disciplinary hearing where he has a right to be represented and bring witnesses and question the witnesses and so forth. And therefore, there must be presiding officer appointed. Then Gerald Khumalo, the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence, approached me and he asked me to be a presiding officer. I then agreed. Shortly after agreeing to be presiding officer, not long after that, I started getting this communication from Mr. Mkhwanazi. But at that time, I'm not understanding as to what is communication, what is the background of this communication. But he started communicating these things to me. That's why he throws Gerald Khan's name in it. And later, I think, I cannot remember exact date, I think it will have been the beginning of the year, I received an inquiry. Actually, I received a phone call from the very same journalist, Mkhwanazi of Africa. His call was, you remember the story I asked you about of what happened in Bangin? I said, yes. He said, but my colleague has just approached me, confronted me about that story and is asking him, why didn't he publish the story? And he said, no, but there was no story there. I listened to this thing and it just didn't make sense. Somebody is trying to peddle and frame Jerome Kwans for nothing, so I didn't publish this. And in his own words to me, Mkhwanazi of Africa was, this colleague of his says to him, now I'm forced to publish the story. And Mkhwanazi found it strange, so he called me first. He said, hey, who did you upset somewhere in the police? Then I said, no, I don't know anything. They said, but is anything happening in the police that will lead people to want to publish this thing that is a year later, so old, that want to publish? Then I said, well, the only thing I know is that I'm going to be presiding over a disciplinary case. So he asked me, whose disciplinary case is that? I told him it's for Gerald Khan. He said, oh, no, now I connect the dots. Because my colleague and Gerald Khan are close. it could be coming from there. That is his words. Mzilikazi will come here and say that, but I told him that I'm going to talk about this. He said, no, if he's called here, he will come and talk about it. I know who the colleague is. I'm not going to say it in public. He will perhaps, if you want to divulge that, he will. That's why I'm saying there are players within the media houses that are part of. So shortly after that, I received a message from the very same colleague of Mzilikazi. He sent me a question about the same incident. I gave him a full explanation as I did here to Bran Mkhwanazi. A full explanation. A logic journalist will have understood and said, okay, well, this is just a malicious thing, and don't publish that. But that find itself to the newspaper on a Sunday. Commissioners, it is fair, that's why I like the investigative journalists. I think they're credible because they investigate first before they talk. I like the ones on TV behind cameras because they give it as is. The others that will just get information from others and write it becomes question marks, which what happened to this one.
And which Sunday publication was there?
I know the name of the journalist. I cannot remember exactly the Sunday, the paper. I don't want to, I might end up being sued if I mention the wrong name here. But I know the name of the journalist, so I can give you the name of the journalist.
You said you are not divulging it.
Yeah,
All right,
I'll give you the name of the journalist, you'll write, and you'll see the trend throughout, up to now. It's the same journalist that is part of the squad. Well, there are others that are linked with him, but he's the main one. So the story goes out, commissioners, to the newspaper. It's an allegation that was made by Mkhwanazi that someone wants to open a case against me. Now, in the newspaper is my full picture there, and the big heading, allegations against Gerald Mkhwanazi defeating, and they write a story of what happened. They, of course, write my response. So, but the problem is, it is my face there, not the complainant. It's my face that is there. The heading creates question marks about my integrity as a person, as a senior officer in the province. They put my full response on the paper. So a person who reads the paper will get to understand the context of this heading and the story. They will be fine with it. But for you to get into a newspaper, must subscribe, must pay money. Some of us don't necessarily subscribe to papers. But there is social media that is free. Now, on the social media, they take the heading because you are limited on what you write in there. They take the heading of allegations that Gerald Mkhwanazi is accused of defeating end of justice against a drug dealer at Kalagabusha. And that goes into their media account, social media account. And that which spreads like wildfire because people access it easy. Remember, they don't have a privilege of reading the full report that is on the paper. They are just taking it from this headline. And the picture is painted. The Mkhwanazi is a bad person. And they're achieving what they want. So I took it as a pressure for me to back off from the case that I was going to preside over of Gerald Khan. How do I prove that? Is because Gerald Khan's lawyers, they even wrote to me on emails and said, there's these things about you on the media, so we are in doubt of your independence in dealing with Khan. They wrote to me that, and that's what they said on email. So that's when I deducted that, oh, the pressure was for me to back off on this disciplinary case. So what Khumalo told me that they were wanting him to resign because they wanted him to back off on the case. So why will they go all out to try and get us to back off on the case against Gerald Khan? I'm an independent person. Yes, I know Gerald Khumalo is my colleague, but I'm not going to go and go with what Khumalo perhaps might want to do in dealing with Khan. Mine is to follow the policy and the law. So we arrive in a
So you simply responded to the journalist's questions, and you did not engage the journalist on what Mr. Africa had said, which was that this journalist was saying they were under pressure to publish the story. You did not engage the journalist on that.
No, I didn't engage a journalist, Commissioner. I only gave a full response on the question he asked me. Gave a full response. He took that response as is to the paper. But the problem is, My photo and everything is there. So the damage is going to be there either way. Whether I'm responding, but my face is already on the paper. And on the social media account, that short summary of it, it's the one that is trending. Not the full response that I provided. It's not there on social media. So, which means they achieved what they wanted, paying me a bad person. And you can Google, you'll find me protecting criminals, drug dealers of Kalagabusha. It's there.
And
Which pains.
those captions usually attract me to stories, but when I scroll down, I can't read because it requires that I be a subscriber.
Subscribe.
Which most of the time I'm not.
The same as me, Commissioner, majority of the people in the country, they don't necessarily subscribe to papers, but they rely on that first caption and makes a story. Maybe 2 days later, they put a full story when it's old, then you can read it without having to pay. But it's all news by then. So, and I could see that the whole idea was just, let's tarnish this man's image. And that's all. So that's what they did. They created the doubt. So fast forward, the disciplinary case comes, and I believe I was fair to Gerald Khan. Despite the allegations that came from IPID, I still protected his rights. I allowed him to bring his lawyers in there. I sat and I listened to the evidence that was provided. The very same Gerald Kumalo that was asked to resign was representing the employer. Gerald Khan had his legal team, and there were witnesses that were brought to come and testify. I could not find a single wrong that Gerald Khan has done. In actual fact, I even said there in my own words that the SAPS owes Gerald Khan for what he did, because Gerald Khan stopped police officers that came to collect drugs under the person who was the head of traffic Gauteng. They came to collect a consignment of drugs from the truck. The truck that arrived in Germiston, and they wanted to get drugs from there. And the people that are owning the truck company, they said, no, you're not going to take these drugs, search this truck from here, follow it to the final destination, what is in Eratin, which is the West Rand. So 2 police officers, 1 Johannesburg traffic, and 1 captain from Zongezizwe, they followed the truck until it arrived at Eratin, and they were accompanied by 3 members from Pretoria who traveled all the way there. 1 from organized crime, 2 from the dog unit. And they all said they were coming to search the truck, and they actually offloaded the consignment from the truck, which was drugs, in bags. They took this thing and they loaded in a police car. Luckily, the lady that worked in that company contacted 10111. 10111 called Boysen police station. Boysen vehicle came there, and then there was a conflict between the police when they discovered that these policemen who say they're running these operations, they're already removing this consignment from the truck, they're loading it in the police bag. So these policemen asked, but this is a crime scene. Why are you taking this thing from here to here? If you're saying it's drugs, we have not even opened the bags. How do you know? If it is drugs indeed, why do you load them in the bag? And this one said, no, we're taking them to Zongezizwe. And this one said, but this is Boysen area. Why do you take this thing to Zongezizwe? It's found here, it's a crime scene. Get LCRC and everyone to deal with it. Then there was a conflict between police at the time, and that police member who was present there took the vehicle, police vehicle, and he blocked this police car that was already loaded with drugs. He blocked it so that it doesn't move. And that's what allowed the other police officers to phone General Khan and say, there are members that claim to be from crime intelligence, they come and intervene. So he traveled all the way, arrived almost 2 hours later. And he put a stop from these drugs to be stolen. He phoned DPCI, he phoned the local provincial crime intelligence. They came and took over the scene and he left. But it was then strange as to how do you blame Khan for that? Because he stopped the people that wanted to steal drugs. He stopped it. So he was in a good space at the time, so I couldn't fault him. But that, Commissioners, doesn't take away the fact that Mkhwanazi says Khan will brief me about secret information that I discussed in the presentation. So while I'm having this belief that Khan has got to do with leaking of the information in there, perhaps according to Mkhwanazi, but on the disciplinary part where Khan was accused of drugs, he did not do anything wrong. So if I had that bad intention against Khan, I would have dismissed him. But I did not, because I gave him fair disciplinary hearing, of which you can ask him today, he will tell you, no, I treated him fair. Commissioners, was the last time the media started writing about me. That made me confirm that, oh, my being in the media so bad, it was because of the anticipation that this is what I was going to do. And in actual fact, after that, I even received a message from Honorable Adams in Parliament who said, no, you good cop, you did well. Which I find strange. But nonetheless, we proceed with the presentation, Commissioner. I don't want to bore you with anything. I'm just reflecting to some things that we're dealing with as we are trying to bring you closer to why we are putting these names together and the picture that we're trying to paint